So good day, everyone. Thanks for downloading this video. My name is Jeff Gilmour from the Association of Residential Communities, ARC as it is commonly known. So this is another one in our series of offering and introducing you to best practices across a whole range of solutions. And if there's anything other than COVID that we should be focusing on at this point in time, then it's the issue of alternate power solutions. We know that listening to the CEO of Eskom, there's big changes happening, there's increases happening. There are also load shedding, which is coming in again. So it's wonderful to be able to spend the next 10 or so minutes with you talking to Gaston Van Den Berg from PEC Utilities. And we're going to explore together some of the opportunities and the solutions that PEC has to offer the industry, and then invite you to contact Gaston straight over where he can make contact with you and see where you could perhaps find solutions to this ever-increasing problem. So Gaston, welcome and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. I appreciate it. We have again realized our dependence during lockdown. It hasn't been easy, but things have changed, and I think in many cases for the better. So we're looking forward to the future.
So on that note, Gaston, let's kick it right off. What is the current state of affairs in respect of power security in South Africa? Where do we stand?
Well, fortunately, you know, if we all have been following the media over the last few years, we don't need any introduction to the woes of government and their departments, including electricity supply and the security that we expect. In our experience through our utility management business over the last 3 decades, we've been working closely with councils and Eskom as part of our business offering. And to be quite honest, you know, we haven't seen much improvement. There's always some small positives in people that really work hard in those organizations to try and make things better.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at it from both ways, from the first instance, you know, politics never contribute to proper progression in business. That's my opinion. And it's very clear that, you know, we just don't get to that point where we can look forward to a trustworthy infrastructure. And again, you know, as part of all the different challenges through the COVID process, all these are exposed once again on exactly where all the challenges lie.
Yeah. So would you then agree with the statement I made earlier, which said if there's one thing we could be focusing on now, other than the regulations regarding to the Disaster Management Act, it would be in the area of alternate solutions? And on that note, what alternative solutions are there? What options are there for consumers? What options are there for boards of directors inside a residential community to start looking at?
Yes, I think also over time we have become more aware and more informed on exactly what alternatives are out there. Globally, they've been available and implemented successfully over the past few decades. South Africa is in a very fortunate position to have a high UV rating on the solar side of things geographically, so that contributes to that specific possibility. It has been implemented over the last few years, but obviously, as we know, regulation always hinders the progression of you know, expansion on using the renewables like PV, for instance. And it seems that the government wants to continue to keep the stronghold, you know, on electricity as well and on Eskom. So to go the independent route has become more possible and more affordable over time. And that is the position that we in our organization take now as well, because as a utility manager, we are dependent on the supply of electricity and the tariffs that are being charged. And as a reseller and administrator, that was our forte at that point in time and still today. But we had to move along with the times and realize over the last 10 years how exactly we can get involved in what are the feasible options out there.
Yeah.
So it comes down to typically what people are used to. It's easy to access a generator, but expensive and impractical to run.
Yeah.
You have UPS systems that are available, for small electronic requirements in business or office. But I think mainly PV is the way to go, because the technology has grown and it's been fast-tracked over the last few years. The prices are getting better, and obviously there's a big trust in that type of industry locally now as well, with local suppliers and manufacturers. So in that space, I think that is probably the most important long-term plan that we would like to focus on.
So just unpack PV for me. What does PV stand for some of those that may, like me, may not have all the abbreviations correct?
Yeah, it stands for photovoltaic. It's basically the process of extracting energy from the sun through the UV content, in a nutshell. But basically the referral is always to solar. Everybody understands the panels and exactly what it can provide. But the technical side, obviously, that's a discussion for a different day. But I think that is the approach that we are looking at, that we have learned through the years is the best way to go, with other alternative additions depending on the property that we need to supply.
So it could be a great idea then for us to perhaps follow up on this introductory video at some stage and have a more technical discussion around some of the intricacies and the ins and outs from a technical point of view. So if there are estate managers watching this and they think that's a good idea, we could organize a webinar perhaps where we invite 3 or 4 panel members and unpack some of these myths. I'm sure there's many myths around that can be unpacked and uncovered, if you like, going forward. So, okay, so I got you. So how can our member estates access and implement alternative solutions? Where are you now? What are the next steps? What does it involve?
I think obviously, just to fall in with your previous statement, information is the key. It is a very technical industry, but you need to make the connection between the technical side and the practical impact and what your requirements are. So that is our approach as a consultant mainly. We have partners that we utilize to implement all the different types of options. Some of them do turnkey options, some of them are stronger in specific fields.
Okay.
So we do the research. We have been doing the research. We calculate exactly where the opportunities are, and for us as a business, how we can provide a service. So we consult, and we are pretty objective in the process. Obviously, we cannot invite in any contractor. We need to rate them and make sure that we have an approved, standardized process and products with maintenance and backup that we make available to our clients. And that is the process that we follow. So in other words, it's straightforward. It starts with determining exactly what the requirements are of the client, whether it's an outright purchase for an individual at his office or home, whether it's a PPA agreement. All the different types of offerings are out there, and we can make it available, but we need to determine what is required first of all, and make sure that a customer understands what they need and how they can implement that, either immediately in full or in time. You can expand on a small project from an inverter with some storage that you just load from the grid for load shedding purposes, and then obviously the full Monty will be to be totally off grid with your solar power. And it is possible financially also, with good finance opportunities that basically runs parallel with the type of spending that you have on your electricity bill as a start, and then over time obviously you have a much lower increase in the pricing than the tariffs that we don't have any control over.
Yeah. So there was something that you said that I think will be music to the ears of estate leaders, and that was that you would come in with an open mind, a clean sheet, and come in and look at the needs. So there's no preconceived product or service or project or whatever. You would come in and then you would match the range of partners that you have to whatever the needs are of that particular community, and then put something together that would meet those needs financially and sustainably. It's not necessarily all about the money, although that's a component of it, but it's also the sustainability of the solution that you would put in. That I think is really, really important.
Exactly. We want to bring value through the solutions, and it's a long-term investment, and you need to be able to have long-term trust in a specific supplier or entity or brand, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that you're always, up to scratch with what is available. And when the changes come in, to spend that kind of money, which is today much less than it was 3 or 5 years ago, it's a major commitment that you make. But you buy independence, you secure your own electricity rather than being frustrated, being dependent on whatever is being supplied by government and local government organizations. We always want to try positive. As I mentioned, we have a very big role to play in the supply chain, from Eskom all the way through with all the different local authorities. But this independent power is the future. It's a proven concept all over the world. We just need to take the step and go forward. And for that, you need information, and you need to be able to trust a consultant that will be objective and supply you with the best ideas. I mean, we do it ourselves. I have it implemented in my home. Most of us, get involved in the projects. We want to see how it works, experience it every day, and make sure that the standards are being kept, to those levels that we are trying to preach.
So I suspect an estate may actually be interested in a pilot. Obviously, there's no such thing as a free lunch. So pilots aren't necessarily free, but it may give the opportunity, especially in a bigger estate, to test it out in various components, maybe in a home or part of a home, and you could build that into your solution going forward if they wanted to. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, definitely. I have to mention that the track record of most of our partners, spread all the way 10 years back or 12 years back. So they've got proper experience. That's why we partnered with them, to make sure that we don't, have to learn any new rules, in the industry. And they are very much adequate. And when you get involved with consultations, all the references are there on projects from residential, commercial, huge industrial, mining projects, small, big, combined. That's the type of experience that you want to work with. You want to pay school fees. We don't want to, as a business, first of all, and obviously we don't want that to spread out to our customers. So we want to make sure that we bring the best opportunities forward.
And of course, PEC Utilities is an extremely well-known brand. It's a settled brand. It is a brand known to the residential community industry. Of course, your business partnership with ARC is highly valued, and you provide incredible input when we were having the face-to-face meetings, and I know you'll continue to provide that by logging into the technology chapter meetings that we have going forward. So I would invite, first I want to thank you very much for a wonderful synopsis. Not easy, because it is a massive field, and one could go on for hours and hours about it. But you put it in a nutshell over 10 or 12 minutes is absolutely fantastic. So I want to thank you, Gaston, for that. At the end of this video, or in the section underneath the video, all Gaston's details will be there. You can email him or give him a ring, and he will then contact you to talk about next steps. But should you follow those next steps? Absolutely you should, especially now. So thanks, Gaston, for joining us, and thanks to everyone for downloading this video.
Thank you, Jeff.